kicked off this episode of Monster Kid Radio with the song Pacific Trash Vortex. It's from the band Terrorist Bengala Party. You can find them on Facebook, on SoundCloud, on YouTube, or you just follow the links in the show notes over at monsterkidradio.net. That's our website for this here podcast, Monster Kid Radio. The podcast devoted to the classic and sometimes not so classic genre cinema of yesteryear. I'm your host, Derek M. Cook. I want to welcome you to the show. I hope you're having a super week because we've got a superhero here on the show. Now, a couple of days ago on the B Movie Cast, episode 280, I appeared as a special guest to talk about the movie Argoman, the Fantastic Superman. It came out in 1967. It's sometimes known as the Incredible Paris Incident. Well, I was on the B Movie Cast with Vince, Mary, and Nick to talk about this swinging Euro spy superhero film, and it was a lot of fun. I'm going to recommend you guys and gals go over to bmoviecast.com to check that out, listen to it for yourself. And then, in this episode of Monster Kid Radio, I've got Argoman himself. Roger Browne, the man who played Argoman, appears on this episode of Monster Kid Radio for an interview about his involvement with the film, his background, how he ended up in Italy in the first place, and what he's doing now. I'm really excited to share this super interview with you with a superhero. I love Argoman, and big thanks to Roger for taking some time out of his evening to chat with me about this movie that he made almost 50 years ago. Also, big thanks to Dorado Films for putting me in contact with Roger Browne and introducing me to Argoman. Now, Dorado Films can be found over at doradofilms.com. This is the company that distributes Argoman. In fact, you can buy Argoman directly from Dorado Films through their website. $10 plus shipping, and you can get a copy of the DVD. Or, if you're interested in streaming, Dorado Films has a channel on Roku. You can watch the movie there. Or Flips. Now, this is an app that you can use on your smartphone or your tablet. Flips is spelled F-L-I-P-P-S, and you can stream movies to your smartphone through your tablet, and Argoman is one of the movies that you can stream through the Dorado channel on Flips. So it's real easy for you guys and gals to see this movie. Buy the DVD from Dorado Films directly, or watch it streaming, or maybe you'll win a copy of the DVD, because on this episode of Monster Kid Radio, with the help of Dorado Films, we're giving a copy of the DVD away. Stay tuned to the end of the episode to find out how you can enter to win this DVD. And it's a cool DVD. As I talked about over on the B Movie Cast, this DVD actually has this lost, hidden beginning to the film, which you don't see on most other prints of Argoman. So stick around for that at the end of the show. I've mentioned our website a couple of times. I want to mention it again. MonsterKidRadio.net is where you're going to find everything that you need to know about Monster Kid Radio between episodes. There's links to our Live 365 channel, our YouTube page, our Flickr album, and you'll also find our contact information. Our email address is monsterkidradio@gmail.com, and our phone number is 503-479-5657. That's 503-479-5MKR. You can call and leave a voicemail there, or again, shoot me an email if you have any feedback about anything that you've heard here on the show. And remember that email address that's going to come up later at the end of the show. There's also a link to our Facebook group, and of course we have a Facebook page on Facebook as well. Like the page, join the group, chat it up with other listeners of Monster Kid Radio between episodes, take part in some of the polls that we have going on over there, or find out about upcoming events like future Monster Kid Radio crashes where we all get together and see a movie. I bring that up because in the next episode of Monster Kid Radio here in a couple of days, I'm bringing you audio that we recorded at the last Monster Kid Radio crash event when we watched the movie El Santo vs. the Martian Invasion as part of the Cinescopio series. Of course, I'm getting a little ahead of myself. That's going to happen in a couple of days. Why don't we go ahead and get to that interview with Roger Browne, the man who played Argoman, right after this.
Do you enjoy movies like Carnival of Souls, The Mole People, Black Sunday, and The Tingler? Do you find yourself late at night reading magazines such as Film Max, Chiller Theater, or Monster Bash? Do you love vintage television programs like Sky King, Outer Limits, and The Time Tunnel? Do you find yourself surfing the net looking for the next monster movie festival or expo? Do you enjoy hearing anecdotes, cinematic details, and unusual insights into some of your favorite movies? If you answered yes to any of the above, you are encouraged to join your host, Vince Rotolo, as he examines some of the latest horror, sci-fi, and cult theatrical releases, new DVDs to add to your collection, and of course, the old classics, both good and bad. He even interviews people throughout B-Moviedom. So tune into B-Movie Cast at bmoviecast.com.
Well, I think the biggest question that I would have for you, Roger, is how you got involved in Argoman.
Well, I had done a couple of films previously with the director Sergio Grieco. It was No Me Darte was Terrence Hathaway. And so he picked me to do that. He saw that I could, show up on time and hit my mark and know my lines. So that's basically how I got it.
So you've worked with him before?
Yeah, I had done 2 films for him before. We had traveled quite a bit. We've been to North of Africa and Switzerland. So we worked quite well. He's quite an educated man. He spoke French. I spoke a little French, so we would just have fun. We would speak French at times. So and a very, very quiet, gentle man, and knew what he wanted, and he knew I could give it to him, and I could do the acting and the stunt work, the running and the fights and all that, and it knew that I wouldn't require a double for the love scenes.
Very important in a movie like Argoman.
Very important, yeah.
Well, before Argoman, you had done a number of the Gladiator films. Is that where you kind of cut your teeth on doing the stunt work?
I started over there doing, I think I did about 6 Gladiator, sword and sandal, we called them. And at the end of that era, we started doing what I call low-budget Bond, on the coattails of the James Bond films, which are so popular, of course. And so I made several of those, and along with Argoman, science fiction type things, all with the spy motif. And that's about it. I went from the sword and sandal to wearing clothes.
A very unique set of clothes, though. But what did you think when you first saw the costume for Argoman?
Well, it's not when I first saw it. It's after they put it on me, and I couldn't see out of that thing. Put that mask on, that headgear on, and I could hardly see out of it, and I had to do stuff. I had to run and do fights and all that. It was not an easy thing at all. Well, they got it on me, I'm going to have to do it, so regardless of my, I'm not really claustrophobic, but that, being in that for several hours a day can make you so. Not a fun thing wearing that headgear.
Did you get to keep the costume after the movie?
No, thank you. I did not get to keep it, and I did not ask for it either. Last day I saw that costume was a good day.
Was there ever any talk of doing a follow-up or another adventure with Argoman, or was that it?
There never was. Evidently, the film did not do enough at the time to merit a sequel. Nothing was ever said about doing it. In fact, I think the film may be more popular today than it was when I did it. Like I told Anija, where were you when I needed you? You and others in the 20 and 30, even 40 age group that weren't around when I did this film. So, that's the way it goes. It's no regrets.
Well, I think there should have been a sequel. I loved the movie, and I got a chance to see it on the big screen here in Portland last year. I loved it.
It's pretty well made. It was good production value, and what you saw was all there. It's not like it was enhanced electronically. That was it. It was before the days of all the electronics where they could make you seem like you're doing everything. What was done, we did it. That was it. Not very much trick photography. The only trick photography that I can remember was when they showed a shot of my villa down on the coast of Italy, where the hovercraft comes in there, and they did have a shot of it, like a cardboard photo in front of the camera, and you look through the camera, and it's a beautiful villa on the side of the hill. It wasn't on the side of the hill. It was just a beautiful cutout picture that appeared to be on the side of the hill. That's the only trick stuff that they did in the film that I know of, that I can recall.
Well, the villa was beautiful, but there was also something else very beautiful in the movie. What was your relationship like with your co-star, Dominique?
Well, she's kind of kooky, but she was nice. She was good. Yeah, she was fine. She was very, very professional, and we worked well together. You know, she knew her lines and acted well, and we got along fine. It was never a problem.
Had you been in contact with anybody from Argoman over the years?
Yes, Mimo Palmada, and I had done several films with Mimo. I think I worked together with him at least 3 films. He went by the name of Dick Palmer in this film. He's one of the heavy guys, you know. He's sort of a swarthy, evil eye looking guy. But I had been in contact with him. I called him several years ago because I learned just a few years ago that they were paying royalties on films that they were showing on TV. This is long after I left, and I realized that they were paying royalties, and he was involved with that organization. I got in touch with him, and we've been in contact with this organization. I've got money to collect, but you have to go through the bank, and I've got to go to the consulate one day, and I just haven't gotten around to do it. I mean, it's not a huge sum of money, but I know there are a lot of people all over the world who are owed some money from residual royalties of the things shown on TV. Which when I left there in 1980, it didn't exist. They weren't showing anything, and this just came on maybe in the mid-90s. They started showing them and owing money to the actors who worked in it.
Well, Argoman's got to get paid, right?
Well, yeah. I should. Maybe I will. It's just a question. I've got to go to the consulate here in Los Angeles one day. In fact, I did go to the consulate. Unbeknownst to me, they had moved.
Oh.
Yeah, I went to. They used to be in Santa Monica, which I'd been there several times because I had to go there because I was over so many years and worked that I get an Italian pension, so I knew where it was. So I went over there to take care of this business, and I found out that they'd moved. They moved into Century City. So I just I'll get back someday. That was months ago. Maybe I'll get around to it one day. I should. Thank you for reminding me of that. I'll calendar it for down the line when I have to go back over there.
So you've done other movies other than Argoman. You mentioned some of the spy films and the Sword and Sandal films.
Yeah, there were several spy films and adventure films. Like, well, I just know the Italian titles. Some of them have anglicized them. Assault on the State Treasure, and I've done very little about accumulating things that I did. I mean, once I left the business in 1980 and came over here, I just dropped it because I didn't have time to pursue anything. I didn't pursue acting when I came over here. I just started back about a year and a half ago when I stopped work. I worked in the hospital for 31 years. So I just started back going out for acting jobs, little stuff, just to get me out of the house, keep me a little busy and interested.
Is there anything out there that our listeners should be looking for, or is it all local?
No, I do a lot of student films and webisodes and a commercial, and you can look at my reel on YouTube, the Roger Browne reel, and you'll get an idea of what I look like today and what I'm doing today.
We'll definitely have to check that out and make sure our listeners know where to find that if they want to see it. Do you have a movie or two that you think people of yours that they should see?
Well, of course, Argoman is the number one. That's had the most success, especially in the last few years. Like I said, where were all you people when I needed you? Maybe they would have done an Argoman too. Who knows? But I guess that would. The rest of them are just, they're just commercial films. Shot in 5 or 6 weeks. I think we went 7 weeks on Argoman. Some nice traveling around Europe. Nothing that would have been submitted for Oscar nomination, that's for sure. I had no grand illusions on anything like that. So that's probably the best one I did of the spy science fiction or what have you. The costume films like Seven Against the World or 10 Gladiators, they were all well made. Most of the films I did was for what they were. They were well made. They were clean and commercially viable, both in Italy and around the world.
Well, I'm definitely going to track down some of these movies. I don't have a lot of experience with the Gladiator films, the Sword and Sandal films, so I'm excited to check some of those out.
Sure. They got these Euro spy books. I don't know if you have any of those, do you?
Some of them, yeah.
They're pretty much listed in there, and they give you a rundown of who's in there and what the actors are and the storyline.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever meet any of the other actors that were in some of these other movies, like Ken Clark or anybody like that?
Oh, yeah, sure. I knew most of them. Yeah, Ken Clark and Brad Harris and Richard Harrison, and a good friend of mine was Gordon Mitchell. He did a lot of the Sword and Sandal, Gladiator type films. Yeah, most of us well knew each other. Not that we did a lot of running around together, because we were, we had our own lives, and we were in that period. We were often out doing films, so there's not a whole lot of social stuff that we could do together. But yeah, we sort of all knew each other, or at least knew of each other, because we were all working, and foreigners working in Rome.
How did you end up in Italy in the first place?
Well, I wasn't an actor. I had started studying acting here, and I did a couple of small films here in Hollywood, but I really wasn't making a living in it, and I had gone to school to become a physical therapist. I was working in that, and I was doing home health treatments, and one of my clients called me one day and asked if I would go over and take care of his father, who was coming in from the islands, and he had a bad cold. Could I come over and at the Beverly Hills Hotel and take care of him, make him feel better if I could. So I went over, and when I finished, he said, my wife and I, and this is 1960, he said, my wife and I will be going to Europe this summer for either 4 or 7 weeks, and we always take a professional with us to do massage and physical training and fitness. And with our man in Washington is a family man, he might not want to go for as long as we plan on going. And would I be interested in going? I said, well, only if you give me 10 minutes to pack. Otherwise, I don't think I could do it. So obviously, I wanted to go. So a couple of weeks he called and said, well, you still interested in going? I said, when and where? So he told me when to be in Washington, and so in a couple of weeks, and I did. I closed up out here and went to my home in Louisville to visit my parents on the way, and took off for Washington and went there for 3 months and stayed 20 years.
Wow. That's
how I got there. Then and I went there mainly because it was the year of the Olympics, so I stayed with them for 7 weeks, and then they left me there and with my ticket home, and on the last day of the Olympics, I got a job in a 20th Century Fox film going to be shot in Athens, called It Happened in Athens, with Jane Mansfield. So I went over there for 5 weeks, and then came back to Rome and dug in for the winter and started doing some theater. Started getting into English dubbing Italian films, like many of which I did or would eventually do, for the English version, and dubbing 800 films in the 20 years I was there.
Wow.
Yeah, so that was just sort of a side thing that a lot of us did when we weren't filming. Then, so that's it. So it's just one thing led to another. Then I met a producer, actually outside a dubbing studio, just sitting out there sunning myself, and he sent one of his guys over to see who I was, because I wasn't anybody, I wasn't known at all, I hadn't done anything, and so I met him, and he put me in a film called Vulcan, Son of Jupiter. I played the antagonist, Mars, God of War, and then shortly after that, I was cast in a film called Mars, God of War. So it took off from there. I did about 6 Sword and Sandal films, Gladiator, and that's about it. You got the story of my life, Derek.
I'm fascinated by it, and
I was lucky. I was sort of at the right place at the right time many times in my life. I enjoyed it all. I wouldn't have had it any other way.
I don't know if I should be amused or terrified that Argoman does physical therapy.
Well, I'm very flexible. I'm very flexible. I've been able to switch from one thing to the other. I also, when I came back, I got back into physical therapy, but I also went to chiropractic college, so I practiced chiropractic for several years also. And then when I wound up a year ago February, I closed operations on that, and then I said, well, I've got to do something, so I started submitting for acting jobs through something called Actors Access and LA Casting, and so I do that. It just gives me something to do and occupy my mind, get me around, and it's fun. And it turns out I'm probably a whole lot better actor now than I was before, because I've lived longer and become better. You got more to call on, more things to enhance your sense memory. So that's fun. It's good. I like it. It's nothing serious. I got no illusion about having a big comeback or anything. That's not the point. It's just something to do. If you see that reel, it's just bits and pieces of three things that I did.
I don't know. If you're acting again, is it too late for Argoman 2?
If you get me a new pair of knees, yes, I'll be up for it.
Excellent. We'll start saving up.
Yeah.
I hope you enjoyed that interview with Roger as much as I enjoyed conducting that interview. It was a real treat. I had actually met Roger briefly when I saw Argoman in the theater here in Portland, Oregon last year, and I didn't get a chance to really chat with him. I hadn't really been working with Dorado Films too much at that point. He did sign my Argoman DVD, and it was a real treat to meet him. He was a very nice guy, and he was even nicer on the phone for this interview. And you know what? I'm hopeful that we can do some things with Argoman down the line. Here in the Portland, Oregon area, I wouldn't mind doing some screenings if we can find a place to show it. And of course, if you're not here in Portland, Oregon, you can always watch it through Roku or Flips. If you are a user of Facebook, you can find the Portland Argoman Appreciation Society. This is a group that I also head over on Facebook. You don't have to live in Portland to join that group. So if you want to just talk to other fellow Argoman fans, join that group as well. And again, chat it up with us. Now, I mentioned at the top of the show that we have a copy of Argoman to give away to a lucky listener of Monster Kid Radio. We're going to make this real simple. Email me your name and mailing address at monsterkidradio@gmail.com. This contest we're going to run for a week and a half. I need to get your contest entry in by March 5th. That's Wednesday. And then on March 6th, that episode of Monster Kid Radio, I'll announce the winner. So, real simple. Your name, your mailing address, maybe in the subject line mention Argoman so I know what that email's for. Get it off to monsterkidradio@gmail.com. You'll be put in a drawing for this DVD. Of course, if you want to get it for yourself, again, DoradoFilms.com is where you can buy Argoman, as well as a number of other wonderful films that they have available right now. I'm going to put a link in the show notes to their website over at monsterkidradio.net. Like I said, in a couple of days, we are going to be talking about El Santo versus the Martian invasion, and we're going to have some familiar voices on the show because I met a number of listeners at the theater to see that film, and I think it's going to be a good time. So come back in a couple of days for that. Before we sign off, I want to go ahead and mention a couple of other things. The H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival and Cthulhu Con is happening here in Portland, Oregon, April 11th, 12th, and 13th. This is going to be my 12th, 13th, maybe 14th year of attending this film festival. I've gone every year, and this year I'm going as a special guest. I'm going to be a panelist, and there's talk about me introducing one of the films as well. If you are in the Portland, Oregon area or are going to be in the Portland, Oregon area mid-April, I would love to see you there. And I'd love to put you on the show because I'll have my recorder recording as much as I can for future episodes of Monster Kid Radio. And finally, I also want to mention that in the latest issue of Scary Monsters magazine, issue number 91, which should be hitting the shelves of your favorite bookstores, or you can buy it online, you'll find an article by me, Monster Kids with Microphones by Derek M. Cook. It's my first article that appears in Scary Monsters magazine, and it's about, well, classic movie podcasting. I'm going to talk about what I do at Monster Kid Radio and 1951 Downplace, and you're going to hear from people like Vince and Nick from the B-Movie Cast and the Creature Feature podcast. You'll hear about them as well, so check that out if you have an opportunity to get your hands on that magazine. Monster Kid Radio is a registered service mark of Monster Kid Radio LLC. All original content of Monster Kid Radio by Monster Kid Radio LLC is licensed under a Creative Commons Attribution, Non-Commercial, No Derivatives 3.0 Unported license. Of course, that does not apply to the song Pacific Trash Vortex. That belongs to the band Terrorist Bengala Party. You can find it for yourself at their various websites like Facebook and SoundCloud and YouTube. Again, follow the links at monsterkidradio.net to get to that. Talk to you in a couple of days.